Old Limerick leader.
The newsboys of Limerick are dying out.
Leader.
Selling papers on the street is hard work. Everyone knows that. So it's not surprising there's only a handful of newsboys left in the city. Frankie Renihan is one of them, and by no means the oldest. His stand is well known to anyone in Limerick, a good spot outside the Railway Hotel just across from the station. For years, the newspaper industry depended on people like Frankie, newsboys who'd sell papers in all weather.
Morning.
But they've little to show for it all now. A low income, no pension, no sick pay either. But they do have a story to tell, and Frankie Renihan, after 40 years selling papers, has now gone into print himself in the pages of the Old Limerick Journal.
It was a tough life, and if I had it all over again, I'd never be a newsboy again.
Can you tell me a little bit about what it was like to be a newsboy in Limerick over the past 40 years?
Well, it was tough coming up, like, you know, in the area that I'm in now, like, I was actually nearly, I lived all my life, and in the presence of the clock here, like, I played as a boy, like, you know, and of course when I left school, like, I started selling papers, and at my early life, my mother died in birth, and it left my father, like, you know, to look after us, and there was about 12 of us there, like, in family, you know, so I was the eldest of the family, and it was tough, like, coming up selling newspapers. Yeah. And you had to fight for your place. Like, there were so many newsboys at that time, like, you know, peddling around trying to make a living, like.
How many newsboys were there in your day?
There was 50 newspaper boys.
Yeah. And how many are there today? Are there more? The city's grown.
Well, the city has expanded, and there is only roughly about 10. That's all that's left. There has been so many newsagent shops. There's roughly, I suppose, around 200 of them. That when we started, like, you know, at least when I started, there was hardly a dozen newsagent shops in the city. Yeah. But I mean, that has been the way, like.
You were interested in selling the most papers, so where would you have gone if you had wanted to get rid of as many as you could in an evening or in a morning?
Well, the first place, the right answer to that would be, like, you know, you went where the people were, like. That's it. You had to focus your mind on that as to where they were, like, because you won't sell papers unless you have the people. So you had to go where the people were. The cinema here, the Lyric Cinema, like, you know, was one of these cinemas, like, you know, where the big queues would be, and we used to do a lot of business there with the people coming out, like, you know, at night time. All the cinemas around the city were the very same thing, big queues, like, you know, and we've done a lot of business there.
How do you make your money? Is it on commission on the paper? You get it?
Well, we get a commission. We get a commission on our sales, like what we're selling. When the mornings that we don't sell, like, we're out of business, like, you know, and we've got a lot of bad weather in the past 12 months, like, you know, and I mean, we find it very tough. And I can tell you, it's no joke to be out in the weather. It has been there all along.
Have you any kind of shelter when you sell your newspaper at all?
None whatsoever. Do
you find a high incidence of bad health among newsboys, like bronchitis and rheumatism?
Oh yes. I suffer myself with rheumatics. And it has happened with the rest of the newspaper boys that they have a lot of ailments, like, you know, which they wouldn't get, I think, in other jobs, like, such as indoor jobs, like, you know. But the elements, like, you know, we can't control, like.
What about the men who are selling papers now? They're all older people. You don't find kids in Limerick like you do in Dublin selling newspapers anymore.
No, we haven't many of those now. Like, they're not coming up with us. But our senior man here is Jack Nash. He's the senior member, Jack Nash. He operates there outside the Limerick Leader office in O'Connell Street. He's the senior member.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Right, yeah, thanks very much. So I could be, like, in second in command to him. Emil, yes, my friend. You look well this morning. You had an early night?
I did, I was working.
Oh, good.
Looks as if newsboys are dying out then in Limerick at any rate. Do you think that that's going to be a loss to the community?
I think it'd be a big loss to the community if the newspaper boys die out. Because, I mean, like, there's more of a relationship with a newsboy with the public, like, you know, there's conversation and everything else, and a lot of things happens. You know. Whereas you won't get that in a newsagent shop. You just go in and purchase your newspaper, like, you know. You pay for it there and then, and that finishes that. But with the newspaper boy in the street, like, it's a good morning, good evening, and you get to know the people. You become part of the family, actually. You want to start a mirror, sir? Is that right?
It's just a mirror.
Just a mirror.
Can you tell when somebody's coming towards you now what newspaper they're likely to want?
Yes, I can indeed. I can indeed. And also can the rest of the newspaper boys.
No, sir.
Like, you know,
Is it just from the look of the person or the fact that you know them?
well, it's a case of that you get to know the people, and more especially the locals, like, you know. But if it's strangers, like, you know, you're kind of guessing as to what they want, like, you know. But you take a chance, like.
You were telling me last night that you think people buy newspapers as a sort of privacy, to sort of hide behind them in a corner. Would you tell me a little bit more about what you meant?
Well, what I meant by that is, like, you know, it's a person that buys a newspaper, like, you know, it's a privacy. They can go into a corner, they can read their paper in their bedroom or a thing like that, and it's a personal thing. It's very personal. They have a peace of mind. Your mind is at peace, like, you know, and you can digest more. Like, I mean, the person that reads from the newspaper, like, in a corner or thing like that, they can digest more of the contents of the news. Whereas with radio or television, it's kind of in a flash, like.
What actually sells papers?
Well, what sells papers is a good story, which is number one, like, a good story. That's what sells papers.
And what was the best story you ever saw around Limerick to sell papers?
Well, locally, the best story that we ever had here, and it went on for a long time, we had what they call a gas inquiry.
An inquiry into the gas board?
Into the gas board, yeah. That lasted for about 3 months. I mean, there were various people implicated, the city manager and the gas engineer, the local people. They stormed the leader office, the Limerick leader office, and the Old Limerick Chronicle, which was further up in O'Connell Street. It was like an election rally. There were so many people around. Before the papers, we even went to press.
What happens to you in the future when you come to retirement age?
Well, there's no future as regards, like, as I said at the beginning, like, you know, they wrote in the book that there's no future for a newspaper boy, like, you know. We have nothing to get. There's no weekly wages. There's no pension scheme. There's nothing.
Was there never an attempt then to unionise newsboys in Limerick?
But it was a case of you just pedalled away, you made your own show bob, like, you know. Like, you weren't thinking of a union, like, you never think that it should come to the stage, like, you know, that
you need it.
That you need it, like.
But did nobody ever go around and try to organise the newsboys?
No, there was no such thing as an organisation. It was never put up. No one suggested it. We were just treated as a bottom dog, actually.
Did the industry ever do anything for the newsboys in Limerick?
None whatsoever. I mean, we are, in a sense, like, you know, the newspaper boys are the backbone of the newspaper industry, like, you know. They're really the foundation of it, like, when it comes to all, like, because they're the fellas that started out in the street, like, you know, selling the newspapers, like, you know, even though when they were in a halfpenny and a penny and 3 halfpence, tuppence and so on, up to the present time, the prices they are today, like.
How many more years do you think you have of newspaper selling?
That's a good question, a very good question. I'd like to be able to answer that, but I can't, unfortunately.